In the special series for the AIA Austin Homes Tour this October in Austin, Texas, I have the pleasure of introducing you to and talking to Maggie Wylie from Point B Architecture, and she's going to take us through Bridle Path, which is a home she has on the tour. Maggie and I have already had a bit of a chat, so I'm super excited about this, and I think you're going to love the house and you're going to love Maggie. She's very cool. Maggie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun. And it's a very cool house, and it's a renovation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And first of all, though, before we get into the house, I want you to tell us a bit about you and why you do architecture. Tell us a little history.
Sure. So I went to school at University of Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And when I graduated, it was 2008, the pit of recession. I was trying to work for people for free. There was no work. And so I traveled for a month with a friend from college and then still nothing. And I said to myself, well, now's the time to go somewhere. So I was thinking Chicago or San Francisco. I love the architecture in both of those cities, but those cities were already done.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go somewhere that was up and coming, that was still small enough that I could have a voice, that I could have the opportunity to be part of the development and the fabric of the built environment as it was growing.
Yeah.
I had been to Austin once before. I have an aunt and uncle that live here. And I said to myself, well, Austin sounds great. It's warm.
Yeah.
And it's up and coming. Check, check. Let's go there. So I moved here without a job in architecture. I waitressed at night. I networked during the day. I would talk to anybody that would listen. I weaseled my way into any networking opportunity I could find. And I finally landed a job with a really small design firm, a design build firm. And I was with, his name's Peter Dick. I was with him for a few years, and I learned so much in that job where I cut my teeth. It was the education of years. One day I was on site with trim carpenters with bags on, learning tricks to bring materials together and do shadow lines so that materials could move and you wouldn't see gaps over time. And then the next day I was in the office doing numbers and drawing, and I was exposed to so much in such a short period of time. It was an education you can't pay for.
Yeah. And well, one that you can only get doing what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So from there, I went to construction management because I really, really wholly believe that to be a good architect, you really have to understand how it's built. You have to understand what trades go before one another, what trades work well together, what trades don't work well together. Mm-hmm. How much room do you need between materials and between elements to get the proper tool in there? So that what you're drawing and what you're designing can be executed and executed well. And understanding where to build in tolerance and where to be rigid. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I really wanted to stretch that muscle and work that muscle.
So why was that so interesting to you when you could have just drawn some pictures?
Because then it's just a picture. then it's just, how is this actually built? How is it executed? Because until it's actually being built, it's just theory.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
If you could get paid to draw pictures as opposed to get paid to make sure that people move into their homes, what you're telling me is you choose that they moved into their homes and not just get to draw pictures.
Yes, absolutely. I want to make sure that what we're drawing can actually be built in a nice timeline.
So tell me this then, like in Australia, I think that, and globally, I know these are sort of not the same stats, but in Australia, something like 50% of the work of architects doesn't get built. Now that sounds horrendous. And I do want to preface it by, if you told all the commercial projects that have to be drawn, to be planned, to never go ahead because of multiple reasons, lots and lots. But when we come to residential architecture, being single family home, the number is still really high. And globally, it's really high that get built. And the number one reason, like it's something like 80% of the reason is because they can't be afforded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even when somebody can afford it, even if there is no budget, there's value, and value is a budget. It's not about dollars, it's about value. And if they feel like the dollar price against the value is too high, it doesn't get built.
Yes.
And so you're approaching this whole thing from let's have it built. That's your goal.
Yes. Yeah. And so from the jump, making sure that we're identifying what the budget is, whether it's 100,000 or 10 million.
Yeah.
And making sure that what we're drawing can be built for that.
Yeah.
And having the background of construction and having that knowledge, we can manipulate what we're designing to be within those guardrails. And understanding, cost to value of an entire wall of windows. While it's beautiful, it costs a lot, because not just because of the window price, but the structural price, what you have to do, the gymnastics you have to do, all these other variables.
Just all the other variables that go with that.
And can we have that same idea or the same intent, but done a different way, so that it
make more cost effective? Yeah.
Yes. And then you have that cost of value exercise. So
I think that often what I see happen is that happens not after, but late in the process instead of at the start of the process. And because of that, it takes the joy out of the process for the client. I have this thing where I say to my clients, conceptual, design development is it's a journey of ideas. And whilst you could live in anything that's drawn, you shouldn't be. We've got to discover. And that's a journey of discovery. And at each point of that journey of discovery, we've got to go, remember that thing called the budget? And we know this would be outside of it if we did all these elements. But then how do we bring that back into what are the most important elements? Because people don't know what they don't know. It comes back to that thing of, like when you said, I asked you before, so you can tell the story of why you call it point B, because it's your story to tell, but I love it. Go for it.
Okay. So
point B architecture,
because we wanted to get to point B. We wanted to challenge the status quo of the traditional architecture model that was iterate, and iterate some more. And I really wanted to create a practice that was client focused, that we made really good, solid decisions and stuck to them and moved forward. And we got this thing built, and we got the client in and home, or we have the commercial development we got the client in and going and making money, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's tenanted, it's whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly. Just and being really confident in the decisions we're making and moving forward. And yes, there's always in design going to be a better solution. But if we work
at what
cost? If we work it too much, you'll never move in. We'll never get there. People lose steam. This is, even with an expedited or efficient process, it still lasts a long time. And between when we first talk to when we get permit, to when this thing starts construction, to when you move in, to when it's
Yeah,
actually lived in and layered, it is a long process. And to be able to do it in a way where we can maintain momentum, we can maintain excitement, because at the end of the day, this should be something fun that people
yeah,
have saved. Generally, like, this is a one shot that they're doing, that they've saved for, that they've dreamed about, that we want to make it fun. We don't want to make it stressful. We want to take what they've been dreaming about and thinking about and design something that is reflective of them,
I love that.
and help them learn all of the pieces
Hmm.
so that they can decide how they spend their money.
Yeah, yeah, with
So
great guidance.
rather than saying, here's what it is, ta-da, and this is how much it's going to cost,
Hmm.
we'll say, here's the baseline. This is what you told us you wanted to spend. This is what you're wanting. If we do this, it's going to be out or beyond, or this thing that we keep coming back to, you're really holding on to.
Yeah,
If we can give them the knowledge of what that means financially, timeline wise,
everything. Yeah,
then the agency is on them of how they spend their own dollars.
yeah. Empower them to know what the outcome of the dollar spend
Yes.
is, because it's a huge leap of faith. And even for, I've got
Yes.
friends who do everything with VR and stuff. It's still a huge leap of faith.
Yeah,
And
you're buying something before it exists.
yep, yep. It's a bit like Kickstarter. Somebody tells you a great story about it, you see an idea, and then you're in. You've put your money in.
Yeah.
It's
And
done.
I
It's
just
gonna.
have to say, just trust me, it's gonna be great. I promise. And we just gotta stay positive and we're gonna
Yeah,
get through it.
we're
It's
gonna
gonna be
get
great.
there. Yeah,
It's gonna be
promise.
great. I promise. And we'll hold hands the entire time and we're gonna get there and it's gonna be great.
It's so true. And look, I love that about the business as well, that there are these leaps of faith on both sides of it. And that thing that you said about maintaining momentum is really cool as well, because otherwise it's a marathon regardless.
Yes.
It's like a marathon. You go up through all these emotional things and changes, and things take time, and you wonder what's happening then, and then what's happening with this, and even we
Mhm.
wonder what's happening half the time, going, the hell is that? Where is that? Why is it still with, whoever?
Uh-huh.
Why is the engineer not giving us that yet? Like,
Yes.
and so, like, yeah, there's this whole thing. It's a great journey. I love that. Point B, get it to point B.
Yeah.
Point
Let's
B
get it there.
puts you
Yep.
inside
It's a
that
little on the
project.
nose, but
Yeah,
but I also wanted something that wasn't my name on the door. I
yeah.
wanted something that,
Inclusive.
yeah, that people would want to join this journey with me and grow this together.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so far
cool.
it's worked.
You see why I like her? And you've also got a bit of heritage of architecture in the family. Not a ton of it. Like, as you said, a lot of them just went off and became professionals in other genres. But you've got a great uncle.
Yes. Yeah. So my mom's the ceramic artist. My dad is an engineer. So that sort of started the brain working towards architecture. And my great uncle, Shermer, William Shermer, we call him Shermer. He was an architect. He trained under Barry Byrne, who was a Frank Lloyd Wright protege. And he worked with him in Illinois. And then in 1965 moved to Mexico and split time between Mexico City and Querétaro. And that's where he lived his life and did all of his architecture. And it is just the coolest thing to have a physical tie to the history of architecture, to remind me of the basics
Yeah,
and to myself and to trust my instincts. And yeah, it's the coolest.
I love that. Yeah, I love.
Mhm.
I love that. Your story is really, really lovely. Really, really lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's jump into the home Bridle Path, and
Okay.
this is a renovation. And first of all, tell me about the clients and their brief. I mean, you don't have to tell me about the clients as such, but their
Sure.
brief, what they were hoping to achieve with the home.
Sure. So they going to trust. They found me when Point B was in its infancy. I had just started it. They had just bought this home in Austin. They were relocating to Austin, their young family. And it was the sort of 1950s split level. And originally it was just a kitchen remodel. And then we started talking, and then it
This is
grew.
where the budget blew out. Yeah. Started with a kitchen remodel. Yeah.
You know, then they really sat back and had sort of a family meeting with themselves and said, you know what, this is not what we want. We want a nicely designed house. We don't want a giant house.
Mhm.
And it was specifically, we do not want something large, because this site, it's about a half an acre in Terrytown,
Nice.
and a half an acre in Terrytown is massive.
Mhm.
And so because of the rules in Austin, we could have fit a giant house on this thing, but they said, no, we want to maintain the original character of this 50s split level
Uh-huh.
and bring it into today. We want to use as much as we can, but make it ours.
Yeah, I love it.
So what we wanted to do was, and it was also just the journey with them. They trusted me,
Uh-huh.
which
They should.
I thank them every day for just having faith in me and trusting me and giving me this opportunity, because they didn't have to. I didn't have a big portfolio. I just said, it's going to be great.
Well, yeah, you know, I think on their part, the fact that you approach it from sort of such a pragmatic approach as well of, you know, the construction management sort of side of things, you know, part in your background, it builds confidence, and your self-surety builds confidence. So they probably went, well, we only have to buy drawings. We don't have to buy anything else. You know, that is their get out, isn't it? It's like, and there's multiple get outs along the way. So
exactly. Yes.
You know, they felt supported enough to go that next step, and then you just kept wowing them and taking them step by step.
Yeah. And they were on the journey with me, and it was collaborative in its purest sense of the word.
Yeah,
and
nice.
It was a lot of back and forth, and really just them learning a lot so that they could make decisions. And then me taking those decisions and implementing them, so that, you know, where we added was very strategic. We added about 12 feet. If you're looking at the front of the house, we added about 12 feet to the right.
Yep.
And then there was an existing carport that was grandfathered in. And so we used that structure to extend square feet forward. And that's it.
Right.
But then, and we kept the stairs where they were, we kept a lot in place, and we added very strategically so that we didn't like negatively impact the topography or the site as it sat. And then just played with the puzzle pieces on the interior so that we got them a house that lived really nicely for them.
Yeah, that just sort of reorganization and creating updated, you know, like living expectation. You know, the expectation of how people live has changed, and what we expect from homes has changed enormously. You know, if you looked in 100 years, what we expect from homes is what people expected from palaces. And we now expect it from a home. And yeah, that part of that reorganization is highly sustainable as well. Like you're taking something that's already there, and you're not spending money or resources or materials on something that doesn't need to be spent on.
Exactly.
You know, you can. I like that. I think that renovating homes, doing renovations and additions, is one of the most fun jigsaw puzzles, because you're trying to retain as much as possible
Mhm,
while
mhm.
not retaining the original necessarily thinking or program of a home. You know, you're
Yes.
trying to break that piece, but
Uh-huh.
retain these pieces, these other pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is my favorite puzzle. It's puzzle and coloring all in one. It's
Yeah.
the best of the job.
Yeah.
Our remodel editions where we're just figuring out those puzzle pieces. I love it. I
Yeah.
geek out on.
That's yeah, well, I'm probably a lot like you with that. To me, I go, it's fun to design something new, but and to design something where I've got to really, really push. You're pushing in both, but they're different. I always think this with a renovation is people already know what isn't right about it,
Mhm.
and you get to say yes more often and show them yeses more often. Oh, if I move this to here and I open this or I do this, then this will create this. And
Yeah.
when you are designing a new home, you aren't solving a problem that already exists that they can see or
Yes, I never thought
experience.
of it that way.
Yeah, new
Yes,
homes,
that's
you
exactly right.
you have to create the dialogue, and you have to
Mhm.
create the compromise because it's just all ethereal. But in a house where you bang into a wall every day, or you go, if we just had more space here, it's a problem
Uh-huh.
you can solve, and that is what my love of that jigsaw puzzle is. So when you're talking about it, it's like
Yes.
music to my ears.
Yes. And then that's exactly it. They already know how they work throughout the day in the house
Yeah,
and what obstacles there are.
and what they're
And
missing out on, and they've got limits
yes.
on that as well. They go, oh, you know, that room there gets all this sunshine, but nobody gets to be in it, or it's at
Uh-huh.
the wrong time, or whatever. I love that jigsaw.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you got they came to you for a kitchen and ended up with a house.
Yes.
I love
And
that.
it quickly developed from kitchen to
Yeah.
a whole house.
And that
Um,
again is a lovely leap of faith in you that they knew that they were talking to a person who could take them there.
yes.
So take
Yeah.
us on that journey from the street. So we pull
Mhm.
up Bridle Path, somewhere we're going to find parking,
Mhm.
and somewhere we're gonna walk in, and on this, I imagine we're gonna come down.
This is the before. That's the carport,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
infamous carport that we were able to use. And the biggest thing was that the two-story volume and the single-story volume were different roof
Yes.
heights.
Yes.
And I'm all about what simple moves can we make that have a huge impact.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to
The after.
the after. Here's the after, my baby.
So you've got
There
those
she
two
is.
volumes. Yeah.
Yes. And so what we did was we took that lower roof
Mm-hmm.
and we just raised it to meet that top roof so that that fascia line is the same plane
All
all
the
the
way
way
through.
around from front to back. And it's one roof line, it's one roof plane. And that simple move, we were able to make really tall ceilings in the living space, which is the
Yeah.
right-hand volume. And then in the left-hand volume where all the bedrooms are, those stayed small
Yeah.
at 8-ish, 9-ish feet.
Uh-huh.
Because that's where we're sleeping. And
Yeah.
that's scale-wise, it matched what they were looking for.
Mhm.
And then we were able to use that carport to extend out to grab some space for bedrooms.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. And then the
and that,
carport has a garage behind it, does it?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So they have parking inside or underneath.
Yeah.
The
It's a
other thing with using the carport was we weren't increasing impervious coverage. We
uh-huh.
weren't disturbing the topography or the site any more than we needed to. So it was a really sustainable way to add that square footage.
Gotta love that, especially in the city of Austin, where
Yeah.
you know you've got your oaks and you've got that sustainability element is really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And then gaining the extra height on the other side. So we're going to come down the path I'm picking to the front door. We're going to
Sure.
take our shoes off somewhere down there. When we come into the home, so for those of you who can't see this, you're going to come across or down a path with some beautiful trees on either side of you. and quite an ordered, rhythmic set of stonework, brickwork. Is it stone or is it brick? My
It's
screen's not.
stone. It's
It's
a
stone. Yeah.
Texas limestone
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
just
Yeah.
quarried up north.
With some light shafts that are sort of beside the door, and it's a lovely entry, and it's very friendly feeling. And then we're going to end up taking our shoes off somewhere there, and then going inside the door. What will we be greeted with?
So right inside the door is a small vestibule. So the other thing that they really wanted was privacy. So we pushed all of the utility space towards the front of the house.
Oh, right.
So we pushed the pantry towards the front. We have a powder room and everything towards the front. And these little slivers of window are space that can let light in,
Yep.
but you can walk through the house and you're not exposed to anybody at the front yard. So you come in and the kitchen and pantry creates an entry vestibule. We'll go to there. So this is on the other side looking back towards the entry. So the kitchen turns into a screen that is this entry vestibule, and then you come into a big open space that's living room, dining room, kitchen, and then tucked around you have pantry and powder room.
And when we come through there, so the screen holds us in position, but then we're looking out over this huge block of land.
Yes. Yeah. So then when you come in, you look back, and we used one really giant 25-foot wide Western sliding door so that we had a big panoramic to the backyard. And so in the backyard, we have a big covered patio, a sport court for the kids, yard, and then the casita in the back.
So I imagine what happens here, and this will be the temptation, is to keep walking. To keep walking to the outside, just walk straight through the house and get outside, because that whole piece of nature out there is going to draw you through. If you were taking a pause as you come through probably around that screened area, once you've come through the entry, where would you tell people to look first?
I would say look left.
Look left
to the kitchen. Yes, because into the kitchen, what we did was we pulled the utility of the kitchen. So the fridge, all the magnets, everything, it turns the corner. So it tucks into the towards the pantry. And then if you turn left, you see the original split level stair. And that is exactly where the stairs were. We reused them as they sat, but we just redetailed them. And the homeowner is also an artist, so she has her work hanging, and it's just fun to walk through and see the original architecture along with the new architecture and with their really personal.
It's into their private spaces, into their personal spaces.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because as I say, like that big view. Let this interview ring in your ears. Don't just walk straight outside.
Stop.
Take a pause. Take a pause. And even if you do go out there, then make sure you come back around and then discover that whole kitchen and living area and stuff. Because as I say, like in Tarrytown, and having all that space is an absolute joy, a real luxury.
Yeah, and they're big outside livers, so they wanted also a way to get to the backyard without having to go through the house. So we did create a stair and a path to go around the side yard and back.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so discover that as well, the stair and the path to the side. With you said before about these big opening doors. So how big's the space that opens up?
So it's a 28 feet total. The two middle are operable. So that's the other thing about these kind of cost to value is you can do these giant sliders, but if they if they move, if it's operable,
Uh-huh.
fixed, and they stack, then it's about 3x the price tag.
Yes.
Or you can do a standard where it's fixed and then the two centers are operable and then a fixed that they open from the center out. Same width of glass, but about a third the price.
Yeah.
And so we have 14, once those are open all the way, you have a 14-foot opening.
Yeah, which is big.
28-foot span of
Glass.
just view out.
Well, it's something interesting. I see this a lot. And if you lived here where we live, we've got one, which I can't do the math in my head. It is 12 meters open. So meters is,
Okay.
so it's 36 feet
36.
open.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're doing that with 4 doors. So one over the other and over the other. Yes, expensive.
Yeah.
And then that actually goes over walls and glass. So it takes you on the outside of the house. But we live like that here. In Austin, what I see a lot is that a lot of people will have one door out of a full wall of glass.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a higher reliance on air conditioning. Not quite sure. Just we design a lot to make it fully open. And so when you were saying that, I'm going, wow, I've seen it obviously before in Austin, but I haven't, I don't see it as often as I see a wall of glass with one decent sized door, one door out. Yeah. So yeah, interesting.
They're big outside livers. So this is what's on the other side of that door is a big covered patio that you can sit in, you can eat in, you can barbecue in, and then beyond is the yard and the sport court up and the casino in the back.
Yeah, fantastic. It's so nice. So
thank you.
It is, it's lovely. And the warmth of the wood that you've used, everything else that just brings that whole treed yard all together into the space is really lovely. Really, really lovely.
Thank you.
And I imagine, like, I'm doing all, I've got pictures, but I'm imagining as well a lot with the limestone. So when you're out here in this backyard piece, well, it's not backyard, it's in the covered area. Tell me what to look out for. Where would be my moment to pause?
So there's 2 pieces that back here that I love that were sort of a gift of the process. One is, since we maintained the topography and the site, it is what it is. And then we raised that roof line so that it's one static plane. If you start at the front and rather than going through the house to the back, if you go around that side path, the roof line is right about eye level. Yeah. And then you keep going through to the backyard and down, it pops up to 20 feet above. Yeah, wow. So it's this forced interaction with the topography that you're more aware of because of that static plane that you're actively engaging with and that you're right up next to. So that was something really cool. That was just sort of a gift of the site.
I love this. I wrote that down. You know, those people who are watching, they'll see I turned away. I wrote gift of the process. And I've never heard it termed that way before, but there are these gifts in every process like that. But it's lovely to recognize it because it is a gift of the process. Yeah. And there's gratitude in the gift, you know, like it's like, how did it work for me?
Yeah. And then the other thing that I love is just the circulation in the site overall, but this back stair. So you have a stair down to the lower yard, you have a stair up to the sport court, and then at the back over against the house, it used to be a fireplace that was in the den, and you had this chimney that went all the way up. And when we started demo, the innards of the fireplace and the firebox and the chimney were just shot. Yeah. And so we came together, me and the client and the contractor, and we weighed the option of, do we rebuild it? And what's the cost to rebuild it and to get what's already there, or do we remove it and do something new? And we decided, and it was actually, the client had a really great idea to have the stair from the primary suite, which is
Yep.
upstairs facing the backyard, to have a stair that came down to the main patio space. And so we removed the fireplace. They decided, we're not going to use a fireplace. We have a fire pit outside. It's Texas. It's hot. We don't need it.
Yeah.
And so we were able to get some more glass and windows from the primary suite looking out to the backyard, and this stair from their room down. And what we did with the stair was we just used vertical, just off the shelf, 1/2 inch by 2 inch steel flat bar, welded kind of perpendicular.
Mm-hmm.
And from some angles, it looks solid. And then as you go around it, it's lacier as you interact with it. And the texture and the ribbon it creates, I love it. It's one of my favorite pieces of this house.
So this is really cool. Like, as you say, like, as you're looking towards it, like in the photo I'm looking at now, it was like solid. And then as you say, it becomes lacier. My dad is an artist, and a fine artist, and he used to, I remember really clearly him saying to me one day about winter and the trees losing their leaves, and he said, well, look at the lace that it leaves in the sky. And
Yes.
you're looking between the space, not at the object. You're looking at the negative space as opposed to just the positive space. And this is what you just described to me. That's why I've got such a big smile on my face. It takes me back to those moments. And this is the kind of thing that, like on one angle it creates this sort of solid, and on the other it opens it up. It's dynamic, and in it being dynamic, enjoy that journey.
Yeah.
And then the yard drops again, does it, from that outdoor sort of behind the house area down?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's there's an upper yard that you walk around, and then there's sort of a sunken patio space, which is the same level as the main floor level.
Yep.
And then it sinks again to this lower backyard space.
It creates a really intimate feeling, that the way you come out of the house and that continued roof line around, it really holds you as if it's more of the house, but you can feel the nature, or you can feel more of the nature. And I think that at this home, for myself, I go, okay, it's one to take a breath in. I often say to people, it's not about breathing in. We all do that. It's about where you can breathe out and relax, because when we breathe out, we let go. And this, I can imagine this outdoor area doing that an awful lot. But still feeling totally like you're inside, or connected to being in the home. And with nature.
And also, and just creating a lot of different zones and spaces that make the house live larger. And
without it being larger.
And that there is a flow between these spaces that's natural, but they have their own defined areas that you can exist in, and they use every inch of this house.
Wouldn't you love to have the original owners, the people who first lived in it, come through? If you still live in Austin, Texas, and you happen to hear this, or you come on the Homes Tour, make sure you do come through. Even if you've ever lived in this home, come through and enjoy the things that could have been. And they wouldn't have been for you, because you would have lived differently maybe, or whatever else, but the things that were possible. I always love it when you get that opportunity. It's to go, I haven't been to too many that I've lived in before and seen big changes. I've usually been the one who's created the changes, so left them for somebody else. But I certainly have bought houses that we've changed, and then had the original owner come back through and they go, I can't believe this could happen to our house.
Yeah.
Which I imagine that's what would happen with this.
Yeah.
There'd be so much that's
Quite
familiar
the
and so much
change.
that's new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Maggie, I think absolutely fabulous. I really, really enjoyed talking to you about the home.
Thank you. Thank you. This was fun.
It was really fun. So Bridle Path and this fabulous remodel and a little bit of addition and bringing it into like now. I think it's just, yeah. And not just now, into quite a long future, I would imagine. And not losing all the land, not losing all the land to just house. I love that.
Yeah. There's still a lot of play space.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you. I'm just so, this is a house that is so close to my heart for so many reasons. And to be able to share it is just, it's so exciting. It's just a great feeling. I'm giddy about it. So.
Yeah. And I think that infectious giddiness that you have, people will spot you in there. Make sure you go and say hi. Make sure that you get some of that energy that Maggie's she glows. So
come see me.
Yeah, get some of that sparkle and let it rub off on you. Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you on the tour.
Yeah, same.
Cheers. In the special edition that I'm creating for the Austin Homes Tour, which is in October of 2024, I have Casey Woods joining me. Now, Casey is the photographer who has photographed all the houses that the tour is going to do an expose on. Very excited to talk to Casey. Casey, tell me about Bridle Path. This is Point B architecture and Maggie Wylie. And tell me about your experience of this home. And I'll get you to share a photo as well, if you would.
I would love
the home. Yeah. And then tell me about the experience of going there, what that was like, because think on the tour, there's going to be all these people that are going to go there for the first time. What that was like to discover the house and then what you loved about it.
Yes. Should I go ahead and share?
Sure, absolutely.
I can do that. This house, this was a special, we were, talking about different neighborhoods of Austin. And this is a neighborhood that I've been in quite a few times. Never been on this particular street. But there's something, this house feels like you're so far out of town to me with the lot that it's on and with the trees and the nature. It was kind of a surprise when I was there of how of where it was in town. It holds a special place for that. And it has an interesting shaped lot. You can see this is the front of the house. And there's a slope here. There's more sloping in the back. And the design really embraced the sloping. And so you're on many different levels when you're in the house. The ground kind of rises and falls around you.
Yeah.
And that was really special and really fun to see. And it definitely affects how the light flows in and around the house. We photographed mainly in the day. We showed up in the morning. It's hard to only show one photo. And it has like beautiful light that rakes across the back, and then went back in the evening to get, softer and really see in, these windows and the relationship with the stone.
You can share another photo as well if you want.
Another photo. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll share a photo of the back of the house to kind of
show how that land slopes away.
Go with what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Casey's got a lot of photos that she can choose from. I'm keeping her down to the ones that the AIA have chosen.
I know. I'm trying. Yes.
Oh yeah, right. I see.
Yeah, so the sloping of the back, it's just, it's a really lovely space. It's a beautifully designed house. There are 3 little kids that live in the house, and Maggie and her team really did a great job of making it livable for a young family, and also creating just a really beautiful, open modern space.
Yeah, so for those of you who are listening to the podcast, you can actually go and see this on our YouTube channel, which is Talk Design, and you'll be able to see these photos as well at the same time. The home is a really beautifully, like, it's got stonework, it's got a very set rhythm to how it is, yet it gets really interesting with the way it falls down the lot, you know, like you said, it's on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But in this backyard, I can see with the fire pit out the back, and you can imagine like this is like a retreat in the backyard.
Yes.
You disappear
Yes.
from the street, and
And
you're in
this,
your private space.
you really are. And this board form concrete wall that you kind of see the back of here, there's a lovely sitting area that's covered and sheltered, and just a really great outdoor space.
I can imagine with this home, you know, having the back lawn and everything. So with having kids, it puts them out in nature, and there's this beautiful tree canopy that kind of surrounds the front yard and the backyard.
It really is. Yeah. It feels very retreat like.
If you had to have one favorite place in this home, where was it? Maybe it was this backyard.
It might be. Well, and there's a lovely little like guest house that would be behind me from this view that is also part of the tour. So that's lovely to see. This, you can kind of see in here, there's some pendants, and that's a lovely kitchen, which is kind of the center of the space.
Yeah.
Kitchen, living, dining, and it's just, it feels really nice in there. I mean, the kitchen is often my favorite because that's who I am, and I love to cook. But yeah, that would be one of my favorite places of this home.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, hopefully somebody will bump into you on the tour in this home, and you'll be able to tell them even more there. You'll be in all houses over the weekend?
I make my way around. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of get around. Yeah. Well, 9 houses is a lot to get around. Yeah.
It is.
That'd be really cool. Well, thank you for telling us about that one.
Thank you.
A designer is only as good as the projects you can win, and life is far too short to be consistently winning mediocre projects. So if you want to get yourself out of the rat race and start winning high-value projects for high-value clients, that's people who appreciate great design, go to my website, archmarketing.org, and download some of the free tools and resources and start winning decent high-value projects consistently. That's archmarketing.org, and help yourself to whatever you can find.